Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Hello, Russell. Thank you once again for your support. Appreciated, as always. So, something a bit different this week on a Friday. I will be making a start on my top 100 favourite. Oh, when Scott for yeah. Fair enough. Mick Foley's brother. Yeah, Scott Foley, Mick Foley's brother. I'm kidding. I wish it was true. That would make him even cooler. He's pretty cool already, but yeah, that would put him over the top. No spoilers, but there might be a Scott Foley link to something tonight. I'm not saying any more, but there could be, which is fitting. But yeah, I've been working on my top 100 TV episodes of all time, a big old list, and I'm starting off with my top. Getting ahead of myself. I'm starting off with my first 10 episodes tonight. So episodes number 100 to 90. And we're going to have some fun because I've got some images, I've got some clips. Going to have a bit of chat and banter, hopefully. And I want you guys to react to some of my picks. You can also maybe say what are some of your favorite TV episodes ever. And I think fave is the key here, especially with some of the early ones. I think they will be a little bit more on the guilty pleasure side, or they will be a bit more lighter. And we'll see how we go. It'll be interesting, I think, for you guys maybe to see how like some of my picks balance out when it comes to like comedies or dramas or kind of a mix of the true sci-fi, fantasy, different things. Because one of the things I said when I was doing that members video, when I was talking about putting the list together, is I think for me, a lot of like the dramatic stuff, which I really like, or a lot of the sci-fi type shows, like I think they tend to have good comedy in anyway. So that's why sometimes I lean towards them. But definitely there's a lot of fun comedies that I always enjoy watching. And, when you've had a bit of a crappy day, it is sometimes the ideal thing to unwind with that stuff. So there will definitely be quite a lot of comedy on the list as well. So I'm hoping it'll be a real mixture, like some guilty pleasures, some interesting, maybe a few different shows that maybe you haven't heard of, or at least an episode of a show which you haven't heard of or haven't seen. And yeah, hopefully it will be a variety that represents my TV taste. I think that's the plan. And we're probably going to do we'll probably do like a list a month or something of these. So 10 a month. And I don't know yet if I'll do all of them on stream. I might do. We'll see. Some of them might just be videos. And there might be copyright tonight I'm risking it a bit, so I think I might download this stream afterwards just to make sure, in case I need to edit a version if the stream gets taken down later. But that's just a warning. But yeah, I'm going to make a start soon with my number 100, but I will give people a few more minutes to sort of roll in. Again, thanks, Russell, for the support. Hope you guys enjoy. Carefully, Keith. What do you mean carefully? Are you saying because I'm drinking? I don't know. Carefully. I've got most of the stuff uploaded that I need. I think as we near the end, I think there will just be a couple of images because there's more images than than clips, but there are clips as well. Okay, so yeah, I think that's why I'm going to download it though, Russell. When we finished, I'll download it, and that way, in case if it is taken down, I mean, I'll appeal it anyway, but just in case it doesn't get put back up, I'll download a copy, edit it into a video, and put the video up instead. But the good thing is, you still get to enjoy it live, Russell. That's the main thing. Live in the moment. Let those dastardly corporations do what they do later. Can't believe I said live in the moment. So cheesy. But I'm just... It felt right. It felt like the right thing to say. Okay, Russell, so let's see what you think of my number 1 pick. Number 100 pick, technically. So I'm going to kick off the list, and I have gone for a comedy. I've gone for like a classic British sitcom, an episode of Only Fools and Horses, one of the early series. This is the second series, and it's an episode called A Touch of Glass. See what they did there? There's the fun comic book imagery. So yeah, just to explain a little bit about this one, because Only Fools and Horses really is quite a well-known sitcom, even if you don't live in the UK. But it's one of those sitcoms that often gets voted like one of the best in the UK, probably like the favourite of people in this country. And it definitely has some classic things in it, like the characters, the interactions, some of the physical humour. And yeah, there's lots of like classic episodes. It's definitely dated. It's one of those because it did start in like the sort of early to mid 80s, and it ran into like 2003 overall by the time the whole thing was done with different specials. But there's definitely some dated humor and things like that, and stereotypes which kind of go along with it. And I think over time there's other sitcoms that I like a bit more, like even in the UK, like things like Faulty Towers or Blackadder. But some of the like the casting is so good, and the characters, and just some of the great like kind of fish out of water type humor, and just some, as I said, really physical, like all visual gags. And there's just something about it where the episodes that work and really hold up, and just the chemistry between this family and like the two brothers. And one of the reasons I've gone for this one is because it's a favourite of my mum, because occasionally we will put on some of this sitcom, and if we're just picking random episodes, a lot of times she will just say, let's put the chandelier on one. So I think that's partly like it's a personal reason. Also, a lot of the fun in this show is like a lot of like, that is awesome art. I really like the art, Russell. Thank you. That's why I picked it. But yeah, a lot of it is like the fish out of water stuff, or it's a bit like Del Boy and Rodney rubbing up against like the upper classes, and Del pretending that he's at home in that world, but then just saying really stupid things that make him look like so naive and that he doesn't have a clue. Like there's another really good episode where Rodney starts dating a posh gal who's like related to like royalty type thing, and things are going well in their relationship, but of course big brother Dale has to ruin it and come barging in and just embarrassing himself, trying to be like engraced in like high society and all that. And a lot of the best humor of the show in that is that, because the point of the show is that they're determined to make it big, they're determined to become like millionaires. So it's like one of these aspirational type things where this time next year we'll be millionaires. And you see that in this episode where they help someone who's broken down, and it turns out that it's like a posh person who's very sort of rich, and they give her it's either a he or her, but a lift back to like the palace, and it turns out they're really rich, so they start getting ideas because it's like they need someone to do like a job in their house, so they decide to get the gig because it'll be well paid, and that's where you get the whole chandelier set piece at the end. So that's the other thing as well. As I said, just some of the physical set pieces and just the genius to it, like just the little comic touches and the timing of everything in some of the best set pieces in this show is what really makes it, just gives you the perfect payoff. Like they set things up and then you just get an unexpected payoff, or you get an expected payoff, but it's just done in such a beautiful, funny way. So I'm going to play you a little clip of the big finale of the episode and how things go horribly wrong when they're putting up the chandelier. Here's Only Fools and Horses, A Touch of Glass.
Now brace yourself, Rodney. Brace yourself. How could we drop it? We wasn't even holding it. We was working on that one.
Well, I wish you'd have said something. I was working on this one.
There you go. There's a little bit of an insight. It's good stuff, isn't it, Russell? So yeah, my number 100, Only Fools and Horses, A Touch of Glass. One of the best scenes from the whole show. So I'm going to move on to something a little bit different now. At my number 99. Do I have an image for this? Well, this is something which Rachel introduced me to this episode. And it's a crossover episode. It's a Scooby-Doo themed episode. I think you know where this is going. Supernatural. Scooby Nation from season 16. Now, I hear Supernatural gets really shitty after season 5. And the later seasons are really bad. But this feels like it's one of the best of the later seasons. Rachel recommended this to me. It's like a crossover. They work in like a Scooby-Doo plot. There you go. Russell's in improvement. Thank you. And they have to solve a Scooby-Doo mystery. They have to work together with a Scooby-Doo, with the gang. And it's a lot of fun because when you have a show that's that meta, this makes sense. Like, I can't fault them for having it because Scooby-Doo was a big part of my childhood. And the crossover is just so much fun. And here's a little clip.
29th, the Winchesters get animated.
You're a cartoon? I'm a cartoon.
We're in Scooby-Doo.
Yes, the Scooby Gang. Dibs on Daphne.
Supernatural, all new Thursday, March 29th on the CW.
There you go. Yeah, I enjoyed that one. It was a lot of fun. Very good tongue-in-cheek humor. I also enjoyed the Buffy reference, little sly Buffy reference, which was good. Yeah, it makes sense. And there's a whole thing there because Sarah Michelle Gellar, of course, was in the Scooby-Doo movie. So very good. She was a great Daphne as well. But Rachel recommended that one. I've not seen much Supernatural. I'm a little bit mixed on what I have seen, but that was a fun episode, I will say. And just wait and see. That there might be more later on in the list. Who knows? And yeah, I think there was also a little bit of an X-Files reference, I seem to remember. So that was fun. And also, I will just say, I'm with Sam. I'm more of a Thelma guy. The nerdy Velma type is a bit more my type. So sorry, Dean, but I would be more with Sam on that. Okay. You've got Do you have all the seasons on Blu-ray, or just the first season? Oh, sorry, just that season or the latest season. I'm guessing you've got all of them. Probably an expensive set if you've got all of them. So oh, okay. Well, no, I do like Daphne as well, but personally, I am more of a Thelma guy. I do go a bit more for the nerdy sorts. Hey, Tom, welcome to the stream. Well, that's okay. Nothing says you have to. Just enjoy the stream. Okay, my number 98. Yeah, you've got all 15 seasons. Very good. My number 98, and I'm dipping back into the cheese. In fact, this might be as cheesy as it gets. But my number 98 is one of my guilty pleasures, my favorite guilty pleasures of all time. And that is an episode of Melrose Place from late season 2. And it's Melrose Place, the Bitch is Back episode. There you see Dr. Kimberly Shaw, Michael Mancini, the Sid and Nancy of Melrose Place back together. And yeah, it builds on the big cliffhanger of the last episode where it's revealed she is actually still alive. She's been gone for quite a few episodes. Sydney's got her way with Michael and they've had a really entertaining like relationship. The marriage episode where Sydney, because she basically blackmails Michael into marrying her, and they basically think Kimberly is dead all this time. So that whole marriage thing, and just like the way they love to hate each other, but sometimes they have common goals, is great. And Sydney thinks she's got it made, but then the bitch herself is back. Dr. Kimberly Shaw, absolutely rocking character. Master Cross, who had a small role in the film I was watching last night. Such a good, powerful actress, some of the most iconic storylines. And she comes back and just turns the world upside down of the characters, including Michael. And yeah, oh yeah, they cheat on each other multiple times, especially him, but it's all good, Russell. It's a lot of good fun. Everyone's stunned to see her back. And it was a fun reveal because it did look she'd been gone long enough, and you probably did think she was maybe gone from the show for good. And I've got a fun clip here, a fun reaction to her returning. Yeah, at the hospital. So there's this investigation. Sydney and Matt are trying to turn the tables on Michael because, of course, he was drunk driving that night when they went off the road, and it looked like he had killed his fiancée at the time, and that seemed to be it. And they've basically turned the table. There's an investigator, but a rabbit comes out of the hat. This is a good scene.
It's vehicular homicide.
I'm divorcing the woman. She's making it all up.
Do you have access to the records concerning blood alcohol levels of admitted patients?
No, not really, no.
He signed a confession. My sister will attest to everything.
Page me, doctor?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Excuse me, detective, but doesn't a homicide usually mean there's a deceased person? This is Dr. Kimberly Shaw. The woman this little twit is saying I killed.
Hi there, Sid.
Kimberly?
Finally, the reaction I've been looking for.
Yeah, finally the reaction I've been looking for. That's the line right there. That's so gold. And Sydney fainting. Poor Sydney. I do feel sorry for her. She makes a lot of her own problems, but you can't help but feel sorry for her sometimes. But yeah, that's a great scene. Matt's face going white as well. So good fun stuff. I'll get to the big finale of the episode in a minute, because the finale is like one of the most iconic Melrose Place like scenes of the 90s of the show. I remember like I was watching at the time, they did like a special with clips of some of the most shocking Melrose Place moments, and this clip, which I'm going to play in a minute, was the top, not surprisingly, because they did do some weird, freaky, cheesy stuff on that show. But in other storylines, Amanda's mother's in town. Yes, they haven't spoken for ages. And Linda Gray, who has a bit of soap pedigree, she was on, is it Dallas or Dynasty? She was on one of those soaps, one of the two anyway. So that's another connection. And she comes into town to visit her daughter. She runs Models Inc., Russell, if you're keeping track. And Models Inc. was a spin-off of Melrose Place. So they're starting to set that up. And Amanda's getting in hot water because she's not using the Models Inc.'s models, because that's the whole thing. She chews Joe out on the beach when they're doing a shoot. It's like, what the hell are you doing? I don't want these skanky Models Inc. no good models. And then Bruce, her boss, gives her shit a bit later on because you're being totally unprofessional, Amanda, which doesn't sound like her. But so her mother comes into town. There's a whole heat. They're doing it to set up the spin-off as well. And yeah, there's a lot of fun actually. Linda Gray's really good. She's got real sort of presence and a great look. And for a woman that age, yeah, pretty impressive. She looks pretty sharp. And she makes a great TV mother for Amanda, and there's quite a fun little rivalry between the two of them. So that's a fun storyline, which they start to get going in that episode too. Some of the Allison stuff with the therapist in the episode is a little bit dull, but you know, you can't have everything. But I will end with the iconic end of the episode for Melrose Place. Way before Netflix and streaming. That's very true. Different times. So I will end with how the episode ends. The bitch is back, and we're back with Kimberly. Oh shit, Michael, you're in trouble. What have you got yourself into? It is on Pluto TV, I've noticed. Yeah. For some random reason, Amazon were nice enough to give me the whole season 2 to rent, because that's the season was on. I think they must have just seen that I was renting the odd episode, so they gave me the whole of season 2 for free. So that was nice. A nice early Christmas present. So yeah, that's Melrose Place. I think it's like episode 28 of season 2, so it's right near the end. Those big long network TV seasons and things really ramping up. Great to have Kimberly back. She is my favorite character of the show. But will there be more at Melrose Place? Will there be more moments like that? It's a fun show, Russell. It is a fun show. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to spoil anything. Okay. So earlier on, you guys may have noticed I put up a post on the channel asking you to maybe have a prediction of how many Star Trek themed episodes I was going to have on the list, because there's obviously plenty of Trek to go around, all the various shows. And well, I'm going to make a start with my first Star Trek pick. Okay, the remake isn't bad. I watched a few episodes. I didn't really like it. Not really for me, Russell, but maybe if I watch more, I might get into it. I think they're meant to be bringing it back, aren't they? So if I get rid of some, I think I have. Okay, so my first Star Trek episode is my number 97. And sometimes episodes like this just hit you in a certain way. And they're just kind of like candy episodes, to use a term from The Passion of the Nerd, a great YouTuber. So this is an episode of Star Trek Voyager from season 3. And it's not the best Star Trek Voyager episode in the world. Like, there are better episodes and stuff, but it just speaks to me, this one, a little bit. And it's because it sort of plays homage to like the voyage home and has that sort of feel. And it just has a little bit of a quirky, like, fish out of water time travel vibe. So that's an episode called Futures Past from Star Trek Voyager, which is a 2-part episode. And there you see them with their funky sort of fashion, as like they have to go to California of all places, because there's been contact with these scientists down on the ground who have made contact with the ship, and they're going down to try and make sure there's no big issues, and they have to sort out the whole problem, but they have to blend in to do it, and that's why they wear those clothes. And there's some fun fish out of water stuff, because Tom Paris is prepping them for like Californian life. And then you have Tuvok's classic line. Tuvok is like the really deadpan Vulcan on board, because he has that line about we didn't need to worry about not wearing our Star Trek uniforms. We would have blended in perfectly, which I absolutely love. Bigfoot episode talking about MacGyver. Okay, very good. So that's what they think they should look like. Their various clothes. I think Paris has a bit more like continuity, a bit more understanding of like Earth and California type culture. So it's just, as I said, it feels like the voyage home, one of my favorite Trek movie, and it just works as quite a fun, quite a smart, cheesy little like episode, which plays with time travel quite nicely. You have some fun like character moments in it. There's some good supporting characters in it. You have Sarah Silverman as like the kind of quirky, geeky, sarcastic scientist, and she becomes a love interest for the episodes for Tom Paris, and only she can play that. And I think you either love or hate Sarah Silverman, and I was quite into her at this point. So seeing her on the show was really cool. I think she was a lot of fun. As I said, there's some fun humor. There's some darker sort of scenes as well. You know, some of like the way they sort of view like homelessness on planet Earth like now, because they're not really been exposed to it. They've been up, you know, traveling space, and they're not so aware of some of this like the extreme situations or poverty. So there is like a serious side to it, but there's some good guest stars. You also have Ed Begley Jr., an actor I really like, and he's really good, really entertaining as the sort of really sleazy sort of boss of Sarah Silverman, who's like this big sort of tech guy who's only really interested in like, hey, we've got to, you know, get this information, we've got to impress people. And he's just looking at the bottom line rather than thinking of the consequences for Earth and for like other people. So he is a really fun villain. I really like that actor. So yeah, it's not the best Star Trek episode ever. It's not the best Voyager. There are better Voyager episodes, but it's just one that just speaks to me, and I have a lot of fun with, especially in part 2. Like, part 1 is a lot of setup, but part 2 I think really pays it off quite nicely. And There's a lot of fun, and I do have a bit of clip, a little bit of a clip. So this is a clip from Star Trek Voyager: Futures Past.
He appears to live on the street. That pushcart seems to contain all his belongings.
From what we can tell, he spends most of his time putting up literature about the end of the world.
Whoa, whoa. Janeway here.
There you go. Just a little bit of a taste. Okay. Deep Space Nine is very good, Russell. Yeah. Big fan. Again, there could be some Deep Space Nine episodes coming. I wouldn't back against it. Yeah, the video rental store days. Fun days. Yeah, I do miss that stuff. I think there's stuff that I enjoy in some ways now. You know, there's definitely things about now that are sort of better, or sometimes it feels it's easier now, but like, yeah, there is a lot I miss about those days as well, for sure. Okay. Well, you don't have to wait long for my next Star Trek episode, but this time it's from a different show. So my next episode, my number 96, is an episode from Star Trek Enterprise. So a little bit later on. Enterprise was the last show before Trek went away for a little while on TV anyway. So it's an episode from season 4 of Star Trek Enterprise. It's an episode called Observer Effect. So Observer Effect. So the setup for this one, and then I'll explain why I quite enjoy this one, is then it's all about a virus basically. So you have this like alien life forms who are like, yeah, with the Quantum Leap guy, with Scott Bakula, and they give off this Synicum-based infection to like 2 members of the crew, particularly. So you see Trip there and Joshi, who go on the mission, and they are the ones who get infected. And basically, it's all part of an experiment for this like alien life forms to observe them and how they react to this stuff, and how they try and solve the problem. So it becomes quite a self-contained, like, solve the problem type episode, like a lot of classic Trek, I think. So for a lot of the episode, these 2 characters, Joshi and Trip, are in they're in quarantine, and you've got them interacting a little bit throughout the windows, and you've got the Doctor sort of like feeding them stuff through like the hatch and things like that to give them like the injections, but their health is deteriorating throughout the episode, and they sort of start interacting really, and they start talking about their lives, their past, what they would plan to do if they survive. They sort of come to terms really with what might happen, and then they start, you know, interacting. And really, these 2 characters who haven't really interacted that much, like, they don't really come into contact too often. They don't really talk that often or get to know each other. And it's sort of part of this little test, as I said. And there's like other stuff going on. Now, I know the race in this episode also feature in the original series, because this series is set after the original series, or before, sorry, I should say, the original series in the timeline. So this race actually make first contact in an original series episode, so that they're bringing it back for this one. And yeah, there's a couple of reasons I really like this episode. Firstly, I think it is that sort of throwback style episode from like Star Trek, what you think of classic Trek. As I said, it's very scientific, it's very confined to the one location. They've got to solve like a problem. it's quite sort of claustrophobic, quite sort of tense, but quite intimate with these two characters in the same room, their health deteriorating, and as I said, these really sort of personal conversations between these two characters who wouldn't normally interact at all. I think another reason I like it is because the Yoshi character, who's like the communications officer on Enterprise, she's one of these characters who, when she's introduced in the first season, she's set up as quite an important character, like culturally and the way she's introduced, and it feels like she's going to become quite a big character. And like you would think, especially on Star Trek show, like the communications officer feels like that's a big role on like one of these ships. And then unfortunately over time, like she doesn't really get that much of a role. She seems to be like underwritten quite a lot. And whenever you get an episode featuring her where she's like the main focus, I normally enjoy the episode because I like the character, I like the actress a lot, and they do some fun things when they give her like an episode to herself, like she's the main focus. But that doesn't really happen that often, so it does feel as the seasons go on, you don't really get as much of her as you would, which is a shame because she is like an interesting character. So I think that's why I really like this one, because she does become the focus a bit more. And I do like that they throw these two characters together who wouldn't normally interact. Like you don't get many scenes between them normally. So the fact that they're forced into this situation and kind of open up to each other. And I just like some of the touches of the episode. I do like, as I said, the fact that like you've got like, because you get these other two characters who are in like minor roles, but they're part of the main crew, and there's like a little bit of a twist with them where they're like playing chess, but it turns out their body has been like consumed, and I do like that stuff. That's quite good fun. I know some people have complained that like they don't like the episode that much because characters act out of character and things like that. And I think that's just because it's like that's the point of the episode is that they're thrown into this situation, and you get a couple of characters who are like sort of like taken over and not acting themselves, and also it's just one of those episodes where you do get to have characters do that, and it's a different kind of episode, but it does feel like a throwback Star Trek episode, and that's what I enjoy about it, but it doesn't feel like too throwback. It does feel like, okay, we're modernizing it a little bit. Because there's also a similar thing in like a Next Gen episode where you have this stuff with like these observers, and they're just like testing this stuff out and seeing how they react, and it's all part of like almost like a test. So it's a good episode. I do enjoy this one. So that's Star Trek Enterprise. That's my number 96, and that's Observer Effect. So yeah, it's not a bad show actually, Enterprise. A lot of people are down on it, and it took me a bit of getting into it, but it's a pretty decent show once you get into it. Not bad. Let's see what the comments. How many Star Trek spin-offs were made? Well, there's quite a lot at this point. So originally you had Next Gen after the original one. You obviously had Deep Space Nine, you had Voyager, and then Enterprise, and now there's a lot of newer shows in the last sort of 10 years. And obviously there's quite a few films. So there's plenty of Trek out there, guys, basically. If you're not a hardcore Trekkie, I guess just pick the ones you think are going to be the best for you. Is a crossover. Oh, with Murder, She Wrote. Oh, that sounds fun. That does sound fun, actually. Yeah, I've not really seen that much Magnum PI. There is quite a few. Yeah, exactly. There's so many Law and Orders and shows like that. Law and Order Toronto. There you go. Well, okay. I can see what you mean, Russell. Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll do a half, like I'll get halfway through and then I might have a little break. Okay, so my number 95, as I get rid of that. So this one is a more recent show, and it's one which is getting a season 2 this year. And it's an episode of Poker Face from the first season. And it's an episode called Stage of Death. Natasha Lyonne, a modern retweaking of the Columbo formula, except she has intuitive abilities to call bullshit if you're lying, and she uses those skills to solve all sorts of cases in all sorts of locations. She goes on the run in the first episode after being blamed for killing like a sort of a casino boss, and that becomes the sort of theme where she goes to different cities and she is like the private eye. She takes on different roles, different jobs in different like settings, and there's a case to solve. And they show you at the start of the episode what exactly happened, roughly, like who the criminal is or what exactly went down. But then you see it from her point of view later on, like you see how she comes into play and how then she figures it out. So it definitely is like a play on like Columbo. And I did hear recently that they do use like the Columbo logo, the same style font and that as Columbo in the opening to Poker Face. So I really like that. That's a really smart touch. And yeah, it does work really well in that sort of format where there's a little bit of an ongoing thing because she's being chased across the country and these mob people are trying to track her down. But at the same time, each episode works pretty much as a standalone. And I think it's just that flavor, like of the different cases and the different locations, and you've got like some great guest stars along the way. And it mixes things up. Like there's a lot of good humor, there's a lot of good dark humor, there's some good drama, there's some good tension, some good like sort of style to it because of, as I said, the different sort of locations and different scenarios and characters. Like there's a fun one with Chloe Savini where she plays like an aging rock star, and there's always like these fun little details where it becomes the most unlikely sort of way that she would start to piece things together, but then she slowly does start to piece things together in this most random of way, and that just shows you like the ability of her and the fun sort of thing. There's one in a retirement home with like these aging hippies who like has a grudge dating back years, and that becomes like the mystery. And this one is on stage. This one is like between these two stage actors who are like aging, and they've got like a whole history between each other. And I won't give away where it goes, but like the whole thing is that they want to do one last play together and to reclaim their glory years. And it like there is a whole twist with them, and when someone does get killed off, and it's when they're doing this play, and it really subverts what you think is going to happen. You think then, because there's this risky sort of drop on the stage where like there's this whole thing where like the lead actress goes through and drops to her death in the play, but like it's a really risky thing where she could actually die. So they do some really good like teasing, then that's going to happen, and you've got them fighting back and forth. These two like cast members who are just so good. They're just so funny. These two in the actual episode. Tim Meadows I really like, and the actress as well. I forget her name, but she's really entertaining. And just their back and forth and all the different insults and the stuff on the stage, the way they use the stage like physically, and like just all this sort of back and forth and like the dark humor and just the way they make it so funny, and they just twist things around. Like you think like these two hate each other, but then there's like a twist in the tale and it keeps you guessing. And again, how she's going to figure out the Natasha Lyonne character is so great in this role. This is like a perfect sort of role for her. But yeah, there's just some really smart, funny comedy, like stuff with her. She's told not to go over the line when they're like performing. So she has to communicate to the actors to try and get across things. And there's just so many fun. It's just a really funny episode, but so good. Like, so her trying to talk to one of them through a window, her popping up in the back of a fridge. It's hilarious. Basically, you have to check out this episode, and it will sort of keep you guessing about what exactly is going on. So Poker Face, which is on Peacock of all places, so it probably counts as the only really good Peacock original so far. There is a season 2 coming, but I recommend checking out season 1. It's a lot of fun. I think for a certain audience, they'll really enjoyed it. But that's an episode called Stage of Death, which I think is the best episode of season 1. But there's definitely some gems as well. A lot of variety. So yeah, Poker Face. Check it out. Okay. Okay, I might as well continue on a bit. I'll probably take a break after this one just to get a hot drink. But my next one, which is on a Halloween theme, in fact, I think the next two, there's a bit of a Halloween vibe too. So my number 94, I've gone back to like a comedy this time. And that is an episode of Parks and Recreation. Quite an early one. Greg Pukitis. There you see it. So yeah, this is when the show is starting to get into its groove, because the first season wasn't that good. It was trying to be a bit too much like an Office, but another Office. But once you get into season 2 is when it really starts getting good. And there's a bit of a Scooby-Doo feel to this one as well, because of the way they explain it later on. But no one likes a smart aleck. No one likes a prankster like this who's going to mess up the whole thing. And, you know, you've got this smarmy little kid who's like just pranking Leslie every Halloween. And that becomes the theme. Leslie trying to get revenge. Leslie trying to prove that it is this kid. And that becomes her mission. That becomes a vendetta. And there's so much fun antics with her trying to figure it out, her trying to prove. A lot of great stuff with Andy, the Chris Pratt character, trying to interrogate him, acting like he's a real FBI hard ass. That's really funny stuff. And yeah, it's this great rivalry between these two characters. But a lot of episodes I'm going to enjoy if they've got a fun Halloween vibe. And this is a fun Halloween themed episode as well. As I said, it is quite clever because it plays out at the end a bit like a Scooby-Doo style episode, because it actually shows you then, okay, he did actually do it, even though. And there's a little bit of a twist. Like at first they're not sure, then he did do it, but it's revealed he did it. And then they show you how he did it at the end. So a bit like a Scooby-Doo episode. They actually go through everything and show you how it all worked out and how he fooled them. Also, Peach Pit. They mentioned Peach Pit. And I think that must be a 90210 reference. I hope it is anyway. I would love to think that that's a 90210 reference. But one of the key bits of evidence is a Peach Pit. I love it. Also, there's some fun at the Halloween antic, at the Halloween party, which Anne is throwing, which she's struggling to get going. And I love that Tom comes in and he turns that mother up. And Tom's such a fun, cuddly, nerdy character. And I love his freaky sort of voodoo outfit as well. That's a really cool outfit. And there's a lot of good stuff at the party, like Anne's workmates, the nurses trying to like seduce her boyfriend just to test him, they say, just to prove that, hey, you're going to be loyal to her, right? But also I think Tom really loves what's Wendy, the green card marriage he had. Even though it was a green card marriage, like, he starts to feel things for her, and I think he really loved her, so I really feel sorry. But that's the fun. There's some great stuff at that Halloween party as well. So it's a really entertaining, fun Halloween-style episode of Parks and Recreation. And that's my number 94, which is Greg Pukaitis, the character, the title character. And they do bring him back for one final episode later on. And that's pretty funny because, like, it's this girl who Leslie wants to give like an internship to, and then she finds out that she's dating him, like her mortal enemy. So she's like, "Nah, you're not getting the internship now." But Greg Pukaitis, my number 94. Still on the Law and Order kick. In those days, you're talking about the 90s, aren't you? Okay, a few more picks to come before I end the stream. I'm just going to get a drink, so just a quick break. Okay, few more picks before I round up the stream. So I'm sticking on a Halloween theme. Coincidence that was, but it's a show I've already well, I've sort of mentioned because a cast member appeared in Another Choice. But my number 93 is a Halloween-themed episode of Quantum Leap, and that is The Boogeyman. And it's an episode I watched on stream not too long ago. And I think this is another one. I love Quantum Leap, one of my favourite shows growing up and everything. And I watched it all the way through recently and had a great time. But this one is definitely a little bit more of a guilty pleasure style episode because in the episode, Sam leaps into the body of a horror writer on Halloween 1964, and he encounters a series of strange events. And the setting is so perfect because what I love about Quantum Leap compared to a lot of shows today that does kind of period type things is then it actually feels like the period they're in. It actually feels like the 1960s when you watch the episode, like the sets and the setting. It's got a good look to it. It just feels really authentic, and they really play with like the sort of tropes and like the imagery and this one, as I said, he leaps into the body of like this horror novelist, and like it is quite a cheesy episode, and it's got a lot of like the kind of classic tropes and just very traditional like boogie woogie type horror, if you like, spooky. I'm not quite sure how to say it, but you've got like things like snakes, you've got like cobwebs, you've got really basic old school retro horror type stuff. You've got like just things to do with black magic and sacrifice and all these different things. And it's set in this really like spooky looking old type house, the sort that we love in movies, really. I think that's the problem with a lot of like movies or even TV shows now when they have like a haunted house or like just a scary house, is that they make it too modern and they make it look too sort of pretty and it like just clean cut. It's not the same effect, really. I think when you have an old school spooky style house with like cobwebs and dust and like a proper old school staircase, I think it's a lot more effective. So as I said, it's not the best Quantum Leap episode in the world. There's many more better than this, but it just tickles my fancy. A lot of it just speaks to me. I think they're having a lot of fun. They're going to town with a lot of the visuals. It's very hammy and over the top, but in a really enjoyable way. Also, that actress who's in it, who plays like the author's wife, I sort of know her out of like Desperate Housewives, and also she's in Seinfeld, but you see her pop up in a lot of different things. She's got this very distinct sort of reddish sort of hair and a very distinct sort of unhinged type look, but she's also like oddly sort of beautiful as well. But she's a great actress. She's always good value and always draws you in. She has a very like distinct sort of voice and like presence. And so she's really good in the episode. And it's just a fun sort of throwback style Halloween feel of an episode, playing with some fun tropes. And also I do really enjoy Dean Stockwell. There you go, Russell, at the end, when he gets possessed and he gets to play evil, and it's really silly and over the top, but he is having so much fun. You should watch the episode just for the end with Dean Stockwell getting to play like an evil version of himself. He is having a blast in the episode. So that's my number 93. Another Halloween themed episode, Quantum Leap, The Boogeyman. Will there be more Quantum Leap, guys? Do you think there'll be more? Let me know. There might be more. But for now, that's my number 93. Okay. Any Quantum Leap fans? You seen it, Russell? If not, I do recommend it. Yeah. I think, I'm guessing maybe you've seen it. At least some of Quantum Leap. I think you would enjoy it. Love it. Good. We can agree on that, Russell. Good man. I'll definitely check it out, Tom. It's a lot of fun. Okay. Give me a minute to set up the next image, and you will approve of my number 92, Russell. I'll stop Scott Bakula. Yeah, him and Dean Stockwell are so good in that show. Their chemistry is just next level. I love both of them for that show then. So my number 92 is an episode we also watched on stream recently. I think you know where I'm going with this. It's Dawson's Creek Detention from season 1. We watched it, didn't we, on stream? We had a great time. And this is one of the best episodes from not the best season. The first season of Dawson's Creek isn't the best. It takes some time for them really to get into their groove. It happens more in season 2. That's when the show really starts to get going. There's some dated stuff in season 1 that isn't great. And it's not the strongest first season of the show, but this is one of the better episodes from season 1. It's one of the best episodes, I think, of the whole show. And it's because it's written by Mike White, I think. Mike White, who went on to write School of Rock. He also did, well, he's doing one of your favorites, Detention. He's doing like the White Lotus at the moment, the HBO show. He's the creator behind that. He also did quite an interesting indie movie called Chuck and Buck. So really talented writer, but sort of started out on Dawson's Creek. And the difference is when you see this, because it's the Breakfast Club style episode, they all get into trouble. Yeah, Kevin Williamson, of course. So we are on a bit of a Scream theme again. And as I said, Scott Foley, that's the reference from earlier. I don't think he's in this episode, but he is in season 1. So all these things tied together, Russell. But they all get into trouble. They're all in detention for the day. You get that teacher who's seeing them, who's like overlooking them, who's called Miss Trinkle. Very clever. See what they did there? Reference to a Kevin Williamson film. But they're all, and it's like a whole Breakfast Club thing. They're riffing off the Breakfast Club. They're doing their own version of the Breakfast Club. Mystery over why some of them are there. The idea is that they slowly bond, but with this being Dawson's Creek, there's also a lot of drama going on. But the reason it's one of the better episodes from that season is because they actually feel like teenagers in it. Like the dialogue, they actually speak a bit more like teenagers. And as we know, as much as we enjoyed the cheese fest, which is Dawson's Creek, a lot of times they don't speak like real teens. They tend to talk in this very over dramatic, very over pronounced way. And it's a whole thing. It's kind of crazy. But in this episode, a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the emotions that you see in them, with the whole thing going on with Dawson and like Joey, and the rivalry that develops between Dawson and Pacey, and it all feels quite sort of natural teen stuff. So it's very well written. And I think also a lot of the best Dawson's Creek episodes are the ones where they're pastiching things, or they're being quite meta, and like they're doing like a gimmick style episode. So some of the horror parodies I think are good, like, you know, like the Friday the 13th one, or the one where they're on, like, I think they call it Witch Island, when they're like riffing off the Blair Witch. So I think a lot of times those are the best sort of episodes, because you can get away a little bit from some of the overblown drama and just enjoy quite a fun concept one-off type episodes. And in this, they do a really good pastiche of the Breakfast Club, and they even have a bit of fun that Joshua Jackson was in like the Mighty Ducks with Amelia Estevez. So there's that whole link. They even do quite a fun meta stuff. There's scenes that pastiche like the Breakfast Club. And of course, Abby. Abby makes a debut, and it's a really good debut. Like Abby, the bad girl, the one who likes to stir up trouble and just have her mistress sort of ways with them. Really good actress. I really enjoy the actress in the role. I think over time the character does start to grate a bit too much, and I think it's a little bit forced, like the way she manipulates these characters at times. But I've said my complaints before. But in this first episode, I think she is really good. And there's small signs that there is a little bit something else to Abby. Then there's little hints that I think there is a little bit more of a human being in that. But yeah, she's really good in the episode. It's a really good debut. She throws everything into chaos, and there's a lot of fun in the group. Again, it does get very heavy with the melodrama and some of the cheese, but that's just the show. But again, I think it's refreshing that they do talk more like teenagers in this episode, and they do some fun stuff. There's some good sort of banter and drama. So yeah, Dawson's Creek Detention, one of the better season 1 episodes, and I think one of the best episodes of the show. So that's my number 92. Bit of 90s cheese once again. Let's see. So Russell says Detention, one of my favorites. Yeah, I read that. Kevin Williamson created Dawson's Creek. My favorite is the Fair episode. Okay, so that does have Scott Foley. Yeah, that's the double date one. Is that like the Mary Beth one? That's Dawson's Day, isn't it, Mary Beth? Okay. Yeah, that's quite a good episode. I don't mind that one. Crazy episode on the island. That was quite crazy. Yeah. Okay, so we're nearly at the end for tonight. My first 10. Well, there's a couple more. And this one is going back to a comedy, and a British comedy. And it's an episode of the UK Office from series 1. It's an episode called Training. And it's one of these episodes where I think whenever I'm just having like a bad day, I sort of throw this episode on a lot because it's just such a funny episode, and it just makes me laugh so much. And you just get into it really. Like, it's them having a training day, and the backdrop is that Dawn's having like relationship issues, and once again Tim's feelings for Dawn are starting to come out, and he's trying to be there for her as a friend, but at the same time he thinks there could be a chance, maybe because he thinks that she's going to split up with her long-term boyfriend. So there's just so much good sort of cringe type humor and awkward relationship humor, the sort of stuff the show does quite well. But also when they're just doing all this team building stuff and like all these different exercises, and you get this really cheesy training type video, which I'm going to play for you a bit later. But anyone who's ever been in like these dead end type jobs and have to go through like these training or like team bonding exercises, and just how pointless it feels at times, I think anyone who's been through that, and that's a lot of people, you can relate to this stuff. Like, it does feel really authentic. When I play the video later on, which is called Who Cares Wins, which is perfect. Like, it is just so, yeah, that's exactly the sort of videos that they would play. And it's a classic David Brent episode. Of course, he does that really ridiculous song, which now is quite well known. Free love on the freeway, love highway. What in blue blazes is it about? who cares? It's so funny, and all the interactions. And I think that's the thing as well, is that this group of characters, even though they kind of despise Brent and don't really respect him, I think they do bond together and they get around him, and they are mocking him, but at the same time, I think in their own way, they're supporting him. So when you have them all in this group and they're kind of all in the same boat, so they start bonding and things, it is really well done and really sweet and quite relatable, because it's like someone says it in like another episode, someone says, then you spend more time with these people than you do members of your own family. So there's something to this. But the UK Office is such a great show. It's pretty much the perfect sitcom. But this is a great episode. This is one I can just throw on. I've watched it so many times and it's just hilarious. So I've got a little clip and then I'm going to play a longer clip at the end, but this is just a little clip from the episode.
Quick trust exercise, ultimate fantasy.
We're just doing the ultimate fantasy, just we all doing it.
2 lesbians, probably. Sisters. I'm just watching. Okay, Tim, do you have one?
Yeah, I never thought I'd say this, but can I hear more from Gareth, please?
So good. So good. That's just a little hint. And like just the reactions around the room are so funny. Yeah. And I think, yeah, just some of the stuff, like also the Faulty Towers type thing where they're doing like the made up hotel manager and Brent fancies himself as a bit of a Basil Fawlty, and the whole thing back and forth. It's just like this really shocking but so funny. Like this is just the mind of David Brent. Like when he makes up the complaint, he says there is no room 260 in this hotel, whatever it was, and it's just a scenario. And then you get that really dark one about like, okay, there's been a complaint, like, and he's acting like he don't care, and the complaint is that there's a rape up there. I'll say it quietly, but that's the whole thing. And just like the guy who's doing the stuff, like he gradually gets more and more fed up with Brent over the course of the day, and eventually he just leaves and says, this is pointless, what a waste of time. So just watching all the Brent stuff and the guy slowly getting like pissed off it's such a good episode. I could throw that episode on any time and just enjoy it. I've watched it like countless times. But we're gonna have a bit more of it at the end. I've got another classic clip from that episode, but that's my number. What are we? 91. The Office UK training. There's no bad episodes on that show, but that is if I had to pick a favorite episode, that is my favorite episode. So, oh, it's 91. Yeah, so we've got one more episode for this stream. So my next episode and my last one, which I've got. Okay, I do have an image. Just bear with me, guys. I'll set up the image. It's another one we watched on stream, although I watched it with Rachel. I don't think anyone else was on that stream. But it's an episode of True Calling, and it is The Longest Day. So Eliza Dushku show, case of the week, sort of fantasy type, procedural type show, in case you don't know. Like she works in a morgue and like she has flashes of people who are going to die and the day resets and she has to figure it out. She has to figure out how they're going to die, who's going to die and how. And she has to try and like prevent it from happening, basically. So you get like a whole mystery. And it's a good role for Eliza Dushku. She's really fun in it. A good sort of quite physical role, and she's quite likable and cute in it. She's got a fun little dynamic with Zach Galactus, his character at the morgue. Very early role for him, but I think they have really fun chemistry. Some of the other characters are a little bit more hit and miss. Some characters are better than others. I do quite enjoy AJ Cook as her best friend. She's a solid actress, but it's just a really fun idea for like a TV show. And unfortunately, it was cancelled before its time because you got like a full first season of 20 episodes. And it takes a little bit of bedding in, like a lot of these network shows. But this is an episode where it's a good example of what the show could do, where it starts to play with like the different format. And that's what you want in this sort of show. You want variety. You want them to experiment with the actual format. And that's what they start to do, because the whole gimmick is that there's more than one death and there's more than one reset during the day. So you get this fun sort of repetition with her having to go through the same thing over and over again. And she gets more and more almost like a video game style sort of format where the repetition is like the main idea. And it sort of makes her more urgent each time, and you just have the fun little joke of like the guy playing guitar and saying, come up with a lyric for me, and each time she comes up with a different lyric, and like she sort of gets better each time. But it's just that Groundhog Day style thing of it keeps resetting, so you get a little bit better each time, or you react a little bit better. But yeah, it's about, I think it's episode 7, so it's around the time where it is starting to get a little bit more into its groove. It's not feeling like so sort of soapy and network. They are starting to experiment a bit more. They're starting to have a bit more fun. There's certain things that are becoming serialized a bit more. You mentioned Jamie Priestley, Jason Priestley, I'm guessing you mean 90210 fame. And when he gets introduced, that's when things really start to get fun and interesting and gripping. And he's actually a really fun little villain. Yeah, a lot of it is on YouTube now. This episode is on YouTube if you want to check it out, actually. But yeah, this at the time was one of the best episodes because it really showed what you could do. And yeah, as I said, unfortunately, you then get a shorter season 2. Like, you only really get, was it like 6 episodes in season 2, something like that, because it got cancelled, unfortunately, and it's got a really gutting sort of cliffhanger ending, which is like really annoying. Yeah, so. Oh, is it 12? I didn't think it was that many. Okay, 12. But yeah, so it's a bit disappointing. It's one of those shows that could have ran for at least 3 or 4 seasons and really built on its potential and done a lot more. They set up a lot of good stuff, and it was fun why we had it, but it does take a little bit of going in season 1, and then they start getting into their groove, and this is one of the big episodes when they do that. And then by the time you hit season 2, it is like getting really good. But unfortunately, it got cancelled a little too soon. But yeah, that is The Longest Day. That's my number 90. So that's going to be the last one of this video, or this stream, I should say. But yeah, it's a really fun episode of True Calling, is that one. It's on YouTube, as I said. And I'm actually going to play you a little trailer for True Calling for season 1, I think.
What if you had the power to change the future?
Those people, they shouldn't actually be dead.
By reliving the past.
They asked me to help them.
You saved them.
I tried to.
For Drew Davies, it's not just a possibility.
Save me.
It's a calling.
I'm here to help you.
Help me with what?
Live to see tomorrow.
Eliza Dushku, True Calling, at 8/7 Central Thursdays on Fox.
Season 1. Okay. What are the... He was a good villain, yeah. He made for a surprisingly good villain. I've got to say. I guess that makes sense, though. He does have a little bit of that bad boy vibe about him, doesn't it? Most episodes on YouTube, season 1. Yeah, I would say it's the best, probably, but I was enjoying season 2 as well. It's just a shame it was a shorter one. Season 1 takes more time to get going, whereas season 2, at least it's straight into the groove as soon as it starts. But yeah, unfortunately too short. Yeah, I've got both seasons, Russell, actually. But yeah, as Tom said, a lot of these are on YouTube. I came across that one. Is after 90210. Yeah. Descended. Well, no spoilers, Tom. In case no one's seen it. I mean, I know you guys maybe have, or Russell has, but yeah, no spoilers for these. I mean, there will be the deceased. No, he's alive. You meant the actor. There will be spoilers, obviously, in these along the way. Some. Yeah, Luke Perry. You might be thinking of Luke Perry. Yeah, very sad. R.I.P. He's a sad loss. There, I think you're thinking of Luke Perry, one of the other big 90210 actors. Okay, so that's pretty much the stream. I hope this wasn't too shambolic. I'll probably come back in about a month with my next sort of 10 picks. But I mean, if you want to recap, basically my first 10 were number 100, Only Fools and Horses, A Touch of Glass. Number 99, Supernatural, Scooby Nation from season 16. Number 98, Melrose Place, The Bitch is Back. Great title. Number 97 was Star Trek Voyager, Future's End, a two-parter. Number 96 was Star Trek Enterprise Observer Report. Number 95, a newer show, Poker Face, Stage of Death from season 1. Number 94 was Parks and Recreation, Greg Pakaitis. Number 93, Quantum Leap, The Boogeyman, another Halloween style episode. Number 92, Dawson's Creek, Detention from season 1. Number 91, of course, was The Office UK training. And number 90, I just did, was True Call-Ins. The Longest Day, season 1. It was actually episode 11 of season 1. So about halfway through. So that's my first 10. Well, there's more to come, Tom. There may still be Law and Order. I'm not going to reveal a thing. We've still got another 90 to come. And I will probably be doing these about one a month. Yeah, it could be. Who knows? But thanks, guys. This was a fun stream. I hope you enjoyed it. And as I said, I'll try and come back in about a month with the next part. And I'm going to leave you with another clip from The Office UK from training. And this is that really cheesy training type video. Okay, enjoy, guys.
Hi. What's the single most important thing to your business?
Staff.
That's right. The customer.
Coming at it from a different angle.
These are your profits for this year. And this is what you're doing to those profits. If you underestimate the value of customer care.
That's not real money. Do you know why? Because you'd be mad to burn it. No, because it's illegal to destroy or burn anything containing the Queen's image of the realm.
You just watched the video.
On it. Yeah, that's true.
Statistics show that if you're treated well as a customer, you'll tell 5 people. If you're treated badly, You'll tell 9.
So can you set
That
fire
sound
to a
effect
postage
is
stamp?
so
No.
good.
In fact, a postage stamp is legal tender. A bus driver would have to accept that as currency.
Yeah, that'd happen.
Well, if he doesn't, report him.
Yeah, I'll report him when I'm walking home.
A taxi. If you've got enough stamps.
Or cash me at the post office.
You shouldn't have to. Shouldn't have to.
Here's a typical office.
Yeah? Yeah. Awful, isn't it? Oh, yeah? Oh, really? And you know, I said to him...
Excuse me, I am in a hurry.
I'm on the phone. God, some people rude. Anyway, I must tell you about George. It all started about a year ago. And I saw...
Well done. That customer won't be bothering you again, ever. Let's see what should have happened.
Yeah? Yeah. Awful, isn't it? Oh, yeah? Oh, really?
So good.
You know, and I said to him... Oh, I'm sorry, so I'll be with you in one moment. Sorry, Jean, I'm going to have to go. I've a customer. I'll call you back at a more
Convenient time.
All she had to do was acknowledge the customer's presence and end her personal call as quickly as possible. This is what we call the customer care tree.
So, your prescription will be ready on Friday, madam.
Fine. See you Tuesday.
So if you put together a crack team, don't let your business get taken hostage by complacency. Make your motto, who cares, wins.
Hey, I know you. Can I have your autograph?
Oh, of course you can.
Thank you, Mr. Noakes.
Very good. Very good.
Good stuff. Good stuff. That's exactly what those training videos are like. Okay, thanks guys. I hope you had fun tonight. There'll be more of this stuff soon. More streams coming soon as well. Take care. Have a good weekend. See you soon.